Are you someone with a 9-to-5 who has tried something called wholesale real estate? Maybe you have been told to pull more lists, make more calls, get a dialer, skip trace more leads, and just go ahead and grind harder. One of the things that I want to share with you is that in this day and age, there is a new way to wholesale and you are doing it completely wrong. So by the end of this YouTube video, I am actually going to show you the new way to wholesale and how to look at this thing as a business instead of a hustle. And I promise you by the end of this call, you're going to get an immense amount of value. So stick with me. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Lacedrick Brantley. I am your host here, and I want to show you how to finally make money in this thing we call real estate, because everybody talks about real estate and they make it out to be such a big thing, but nobody talks about the real in real estate. And I want to give you the simple way, the new way to get into real estate. So today's podcast is not going to be a sales podcast. It's actually going to be a business podcast. Okay. So thank you so much for clicking on the video. If you get an immense amount of value by the end of this YouTube video, I want you to like, comment, and subscribe, okay? Let's go ahead and jump into the framework that I want to give you, because nobody is telling you about thinking about your wholesaling business as a business, but everybody is telling you to quickly get into it, quickly make money, make 2 calls, make money, make a text, get money, all of this stuff. And nobody tells you about the 4 pillars that you need to know about real estate. And I'm just going to go ahead and give them to you up front so you will have them, and then we're going to coach throughout this so I can show you how I do this. Okay. So there are 4 pillars to your business that you need to think about before you even think about making money. One of the first things that we want to talk about is lead generation. The second one is lead conversion, fulfillment, and then ascension/retention. So one more time, we talk about lead generation, lead conversion, fulfillment, ascension/retention. Okay. So let me break down what each of these are, and then we'll get into them. Okay. So when it comes to lead generation, one of the biggest things that you absolutely need is leads, because if you do not have any leads, y'all, you do not have a business. Okay. And most people, they get into this business and they pull more lists and they do all of this and they do all of that, but nobody talks about getting quality leads. All right. And one of the new ways to wholesaling of what we're doing, I'm sure you probably heard of like PPC, PPL, all of that good stuff. But what if I were to tell you that you could actually make one video and get in front of multiple $20,000 plus opportunities? My student Tori, who I coached on this method and our strategy in running this, I actually ran some ads with him, and he spent literally just $30, y'all, and he got 3 leads, right, in the same day, by the way. But I want to tell you this is an epiphany that I had about just spending the money, but getting the return back and getting quality instead of quantity. Because I'm sure you have cold called, you have pulled more lists, you have probably gotten a lot of leads, but a lot of them have been like market value. They're asking the highest price. They're not really qualified or motivated, as we say, go after motivated leads. And the strategy that we do when it comes down to this, y'all, is really, really important, because one of the things that we do is make sure that we create a video tailored to somebody who wants to sell. And I'll just give you something simple. We target the problem, we give the solution, and we tell them where to go so they come to us instead of us going to them. So we do not cold call anymore in the industry of real estate as far as us, but most people do, and they tell you this is the easiest way to get in, but I truly believe that this is the easiest way to get in. So my student Tori actually ended up spending, like, I think he spent $30, 3 leads, so $10 a lead, and he ended up getting one in Frisco, Texas, which is an area out here in Texas. It's a really nice area, and it was $1 million home. So we're talking about not even a $20,000 opportunity. We're talking about now a 6-figure opportunity that he has the ability to get under contract and sell, right? And of course, there are a couple of more things that goes into, locking up the deal and all of that good stuff, like sales skills and all of that, but we'll get there, right? So lead generation is going to be your key. And most people don't talk about this, but I think that it's so very important that we talk about lead generation, because this is the first pillar that you should focus on. So if you were getting into real estate and everybody tells you about this new systems and all of this, I would venture to say you don't need any of that. I'm gonna tell you up front what this system you should use: PropStream and a CRM. Okay, you can get literally a $20 $1 phone, y'all, and literally call your leads that come to you and create a free CRM somewhere, and literally everything else goes to marketing and bringing people to you, okay? When it comes to lead generation, I would tell you a sure way to literally make 10, 20, or even $30,000 a month. The simplest way to do so is generate 100 leads per month. Most people don't know their numbers, and we're going to get a lot more into numbers here later on, because this is how we make the retention/ascension mode repeatable and scalable and consistent, okay? So now that you know about lead generation, y'all, one of the things that you should be doing is focusing on how do we get quality leads instead of quantity, because now it's no longer about, how many leads you can get, because anybody can talk about how many leads they can get, but who can really talk about, man, I'm getting quality leads. Hey, out of every 15, 10, 20 leads, I'm getting a contract. And that's more important to know your numbers as well, okay? So that's the first part. The second part is lead conversion. Lead conversion is all about taking a lead from being just a lead that that they want to sell to them actually becoming a contract, okay? So we must make sure that this person gets from lead generation to lead conversion. We want to take them there. How do we take somebody from being just a lead to getting them to a contract? Tonight, I actually had a couple of sales calls with my mentees, and we were calling leads live, and I was just running this through them. And when you think of the word, y'all, sales, I want to literally break down something, because so many people think about the word sales, and you just comment in the YouTube chat, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about sales, okay? And some people would say it's a great thing, and it is a good thing. I believe that it's an amazing thing. But I also believe that when it comes to, sales, y'all, there's a good side and good experiences and bad side with bad experiences, right? And I believe that I truly believe that there is a difference in between you helping somebody with a decision that they already want to make, which is sales or serving, right? Persuading. And then the other side to this thing is convincing, which, you're helping somebody, you're convincing somebody to make a decision for the benefit of you and not them. And now when people see that, y'all, they just get icky, and you get a weird feeling about sales, right? So when we have the thought process of sales, y'all, maybe you think about car salesmen, maybe you think about the life insurance agent that came to your house when you were younger. You think about all of these sales experiences that you had. Most people do not hate sales, y'all. It's not that you hate sales, it's that you hate the story attached to it and what happened to you in the instance of sales, right? So maybe that's, you actually had a bad experience with somebody who just tried to sell you something that you didn't necessarily need. And if you did need it, they did it in such a way where it was just yucky and it was icky and all of this. And one of the things I want to teach you here today is how you sell means everything, because of course, you want to become a good communicator and all of this good stuff, but how you sell to somebody means everything. And I'm not saying that there aren't different closing styles and of that nature, but I'm sharing with you, there's a difference, and a huge difference, between selling somebody on something that they need, right? They already want, and you clearly know that they need, and you can take them from point A to point B, as opposed to selling somebody. Let's just say you've been in a store and you're just looking around, and maybe you plan on buying a pair of shoes. Maybe you don't see the pair of shoes, and maybe you do, right? But you get somebody to walk up to you and they're like, hey, how can I help, whatever. And you're like, it's because of the bad sales experiences that you've experienced, y'all. And how you literally overcome that is by how you sell and the experience of how you take a customer through the journey, right? And some of you believe like, man, I'm not that good at sales. I'm not good at selling. Man, I'm just, I'm not that kind of person where, I just have those types of skills. And I want to tell you that if you are somebody who has been in a store and you never meet a stranger, and people tell you, man, you never meet a stranger, you're good at sales. If you have held a conversation with somebody and people just typically gravitate towards you, you are good at sales. If somebody literally comes to you for just about everything when it comes to advice, they not only do they trust you, but you're good at sales. So kill the limiting belief that you are not good at sales. You just need to know more. You need this, you need that. Because I'm telling you, y'all, you don't need anything more than just being yourself, okay? And there are mistakes that people make when it comes to sales, because I want you to understand, when you're going to talk to sellers and all of this, y'all, and you're going to try to help them sell their home or buy their home or whatever the case may be, I want you to understand this. Everybody literally calls them and asks them, hey, how old is your roof? How old is what's the condition? What's that? But like earlier today, I had a seller that picked up the phone, and my greeting was just such full of energy, and it made her open up. I can tell she was a little closed off, and I'm like, hey, Jean, this is Cedric here. How you doing today? And she's like, yeah, I'm well. How are you? And I'm like, well, I'm blessed today. I actually had a really good day. How's your day? And she's like, man, I'm glad that's good for you. Man, I'm having a really good day as well. And I said, hey, I just texted you about this property that you said you want to sell. Is this something that you're still interested in selling? She's like, yes. And instantly, y'all, I say, hey, tell me a little bit about what you got going on here. I mean, I'm looking at the property. It seems nice, but tell me what's going on here. Oh, well, I got this property that I had listed, and I tried to, I listed it for about 5 months, et cetera, but it didn't sell. So I had it listed at $950,000, and it went down to $920,000. And now it's like she's opening up. And now I'm talking to her about, hey, what was the experience when you put it on the market? And how was that experience? What kind of feedback did you get? Did you get a lot of walkthroughs? All of that good stuff, y'all. Then that's part of building rapport. And before I know it, y'all, like she was at $920,000, and I dropped her all the way down to $850,000, and y'all, it was just overall a really, really good call, y'all. So what I'm saying here is that the experience that you take people through when it comes to sales means everything. How do you become a really, really good salesperson, right? Number one, you care about the people that you serve, okay? Selling is serving. That's a writer-downer. Selling is serving. And you want to make sure that you serve somebody at such a high capacity with your energy, with how you can help, with taking them from point A to point B, to guiding them on the call, to handling objections before they can even bring it up. And I'm just telling you, y'all, this is going to be the thing that differentiates you from your competition. And you may think that, man, this thing is oversaturated. But I'm telling you, y'all, nothing is oversaturated when you are the person that can only deliver the way that you deliver, okay? So you must be the person to deliver that they know, like, and trust. And I would even say it better than this. Everybody says, hey, build, know, like, and trust on the call. It's good to be known, but would you say that it's better to literally be believed, okay? If somebody believes in you, that means that they trust you more than the regular individual who says that they can do something, right? And by the end of that phone call earlier, it was like she had a realtor who was her son-in-law. And she was like, yeah, earlier in the call, she was like, yeah, people were talking to me about this. And if I want anybody to list it, I would get my stepson to do it. And we have something in our business, which is a different exit strategy, where essentially we would list the property, but we would do a lot more than that. And I was just sharing with her that she just does not have enough leverage. And by the end of the call, look, she believed, liked, and trusted me. Not know, like, and trust, because she already knew me from the call. She believed me, she liked me, and she trusted me. So now we're going to go get that contract tomorrow. And this is all about creating such an experience for the seller by not even talking about the house. It's not even about the house. We were joking about things around, like, her daughter is I think she's like a movie professional or something like that. And she shoots movies, and her mom was previously too. But I was talking to mom, and she was like, yeah, my daughter said that the pictures I took were absolutely crazy and horrible. And like, yeah, this could be a reason why I'm not selling it. And I looked at the pictures. I'm like, yeah, I probably agree with your daughter. And we start laughing it off. And it's like, that's how you create an experience, just by being authentic. So if you think that you're not good at sales, try just doing one thing, y'all: being you. If you just focus on being you, talking confidently, having energy, because most people, y'all, they just care about the house. They just care about, the roof and this and how much they can make. But if you can stand out and just care about people, y'all, you will actually be the differentiator between somebody else who calls them and the person who gets the contract, which if I get on the phone with your lead, I'm going to close them because I know how to create an experience and communicate it, okay? The third thing that I would like to talk about when it comes down to lead conversion going into fulfillment, y'all, is simply this: This is the process from taking somebody from being a contract, right? And then fulfilling on what you said that you could do when it comes down to you selling the deal. So I think that this is very much so important. And I just want to say this podcast is actually brought to you by Certified Closers, and this is a coaching program that I do, and I teach on real estate wholesaling, and I show different strategies and all of this good stuff. And we actually have master classes that we do every week talking about this type of stuff. So if this sounds like something that you're interested in, go ahead and click below in the description so you can see the next masterclass that we're doing to talk about this. I hope to meet you live, face to face, ears to ears, all of that good stuff. I hope to meet you live and teach you about this game called real estate. And this podcast is brought to you by us. So let's go ahead and get into fulfillment, right? This is where we do dispositions, and we're taking somebody from being a contract to selling the deal. Now, one of the things that most people struggle with is taking somebody from being a contract to selling the contract. And there's so many ways that you can find buyers. It's crazy. I'll give you a crazy gem. Affordablehousing.com is a really good website that you can go to where buyers list their property on for rent. And what they do is they find people, essentially want to rent their house. And those are buyers that are looking for more properties. So you go on there, put in your city, you'll see tons of properties pop up, and try not to contact the companies, contact the people with first and last names. Those are going to be your buyers. Now, what's that experience like? Like, man, now that I've understood how to essentially create an experience for my seller, how do I do this for my buyer, right? And it's simple. When you have a deal that is worth it, that is priced correctly, that is at a good price, good deals sell themselves. So one of the things that we typically end up doing is we always pull a list or get a whole bunch of buyers, and we send a pre-marketing text out that says, hey, it's Lacedrick. I have a deal for sale in Dallas, Texas, 75215. Would you like more information before I list it on the MLS? And that one tip alone is going to get you so many people that say yes. And now all you have to do is call through those buyers, and you collect three things, y'all. Number one, you introduce yourself. Number two, ask them, are they actively buying? Number three, you set the expectation to, what's going to happen next. Hey, what I'm going to do is collect your information to see where you buy at and see if we can bring you more deals. And, of course, after that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the deal that we have available for you. After you tell them, collect what they want to buy, the fourth thing you want to do is simply do this. Pitch them the deal and have them open up the document in which you have the deal and the details in, kind of like a presentation. And you pitch the deal, you schedule a walkthrough, or you ask them, do they actually want to make an offer based on what they see, okay? And that's the process. Like, it's so simple. You just keep it simple and you have a process. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make in selling a deal is simply not reaching out to enough people, not pitching your deal to enough buyers. You don't need 1,000 buyers to sell a deal. I would venture to say you need 50 to 100, if that. And it can be sold in the third conversation. But what you must do on the buyer side is simply create such an experience over there where they feel like, man, I'm getting a really good deal. You're hyping the deal up. You're telling them, man, I got other people walking through the place and all of that good stuff, and they're going to make offers. So I suggest you move fast. You build urgency in that, right? Another tip I would even give you is making sure that after they go walk the property there, what you end up doing is you call them and follow up to see if they have an offer or get any feedback. And all of the feedback that you get, let's just say, for instance, all of the buyers are giving you an offer lower than where you want to be. Then one of the things that you can do is you can take all of the feedback that you have gotten from the buyers, and guess what? What you are going to do is you are absolutely going to go back and get a price reduction from the seller. Now you have all of the feedback that you need, and only if you need it, y'all. There's a such thing as being greedy, and there's a such thing as just making what you deserve, right? And don't be overly greedy, right? You still want to make sure that the seller walks away with what they're supposed to walk away with. You make money, all of that. But yeah, you're going to make a lot of money doing this process, y'all. So once you sell the deal, y'all, follow-up is very, very important on fulfillment when you're trying to sell a deal. So some buyers won't respond. Call them every day. Some buyers will respond, and then they fall off track. Call them. text them, all of that, consistently stay in their face, because follow-up is going to be the most important thing that you can do. The last thing that I would like to talk to you about is from fulfillment. And this is where ultimately you want to be. You want to, after you make the money, you want to retain the same amount of money, which is retention, or you want to ascend up and just make more money. And this is the part where most people struggle at, is because they don't know what they don't know, right? So let's talk about how you retain the same amount of money and you keep the same amount of money. How do you do that? Well, the number one thing is by making your business predictable. You ask yourself, how does this business become so predictable to where it's like a machine running almost itself, and all you have to do is just hire, right? Hire, or you just stay in the business and do the work, right? Here's the biggest thing I want to give you: running your numbers, okay? What is the industry standard for each stage that I just said, right? Hey, how many leads do I need to get a contract? What should my cost per lead be, right? How much I spend per lead? I mean, how many leads do I need to get a contract? Lead to contract, right? What should my cost per acquisition be? What should my cost per contract be, right? What should all of that look like? And you just want to know the numbers and ask questions about that, y'all. And, you know, better yet, if you go ahead and click this QR code, I'll share with you a sheet that we use to track all of our numbers, and you'll be able to know exactly what that is, okay? Essentially, you would want to simply make sure that you keep the numbers on the forefront. Hey, what is the industry standard for how many leads that I'm supposed to get before I get a contract? How many offers should I be making? How many processes, people I take through my sales process, how many people should I be doing that, right? And you want to know those things, y'all, because it's so very important. And that's how you keep the business consistent, is by consistently increasing your numbers. You know, it's all levers. Think of it as a video game. We started off with 50 leads, right? Out of those 50 leads, we made 20 offers. Out of 20 offers, we got 10, I'll think about it, and 10 people who signed the contract, and if that, right? 10 people who signed a contract, 5 people who are not interested, and you can't get them to agree to your price. 5 people who are, I'm going to think about it, and they'll come in, you know, in the next 2 to 3 months. And let's just say that you do that within follow-up. Out of those 10 contracts, let's just say you have a 70% close rate. So 3 of them fall out. Worst case, if you're new to this, you'll have a 40 to 50% starting out, because there are certain things that, you know, you just can't control or you'll need to learn. So let's just say you just have a 50% close rate. Out of 10 contracts, you get 5 people to actually go through and turn into a deal. Well, that's a 50% success rate, right? One of the things I also want you to understand about sales, if you allow me to go back, is don't be so desperate for a sale, y'all. People smell that. People feel that. People feel the energy. And one of the things I always want to tell you is simply this. People who are greedy and people who are needy instead of seedy, shout out to Myron Golden, they actually don't add value. And I would say you always want to plant seeds, y'all. The words that you say are seeds. The way that you think about your customers are seeds. The way that you talk, that's a seed. The things that you share, those are seeds. The advice that you give your seller, those are seeds. So even if they don't do business with you now, I promise you they will do business with you later if you're planting good seeds, okay? So you don't need a sale. I mean, you don't need the sale. You need a sale, okay? Remember this. Get so detached from needing the sale that you just literally just become so valuable on the call. And it's like, man, think about, when a girl or a man you're going after, it's like, man, they kind of like, they're not engaging you. So you engage them. And when you stop engaging them, they engage you. It's the same thing in sales. It's a push-pull kind of thing, right? And you always want to be that person where it's like you don't need to sell. And understand this, there's something called the laws of averages that you need to know about. And it says, hey, out of this X amount of people, it takes me this X amount of conversations to get my result, my contract, right? And you simply want to know that. And once you know that, y'all, you become so detached where you get rid of commission breath. You look to add more value, all of that. But simply just be so far away from the money and all of that, because it's going to come, and be so close to the fact that you care, the fact that you want to make an offer, the fact that you're trying to get them from point A to point B, which is away from pain or towards pleasure. And if you get them there, y'all, I'm telling you, you're going to be phenomenal. All right. Now, the laws of averages, so important. It tells you simply this: I don't need every single sale that I do. I just need a sale. So out of, let's just say it takes you on average 15 people to get a contract. Well, you don't need every single sale. You just need a sale out of the 15 people. And that's what we need right there. So you think about it that way and reverse engineer the way that you think. And then lastly, y'all, I want to talk about is how you retain the same amount of money, which we talked about that, tracking your numbers, KPIs, key performance indicators, which tell you the signals of your business and how healthy it is or how unhealthy it is. Okay. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is ascension. How do you ascend up and retain the same amount of money each and every single month? How do you do that? You track your numbers. You pull certain levers like a video game. Hey, we spend more money, we get more leads. We get more leads, we get more opportunities. We get more opportunities, we get more offers. We get more offers, we get more contracts. We get more contracts, you get it. We make more money, right? You pull that lever. That's number one. Once you make more money, you spend more money, okay? And don't spend it everywhere. Just spend it on quality leads, okay? Generate more leads. That's one way. Number two, what you are going to do is learn another exit strategy. So instead of being a one-trick pony, you want to be a two-trick pony, a three-trick pony, et cetera, et cetera. So there's something in our business we do called novations, equity protection program, whatever the case may be. Everybody calls it something different. And what it allows us to do is make people an offer for more money. And essentially, you know, we can make more money in the process of doing it, and we can list it on the market, make more money that way. And that's something that we do. And learning another exit strategy is actually going to help you with making sure that you make more money as well and retain the same amount of money. So now you open your conversion rate up, because now you, instead of you being the usual person who would get 4 people out of 10 people, now you don't just get 4 people out of 10 people just because you're offering cash. Now you can get 6, 7, 8 people out of 10 people because you know a different exit strategy, and that's how you make your business so very consistent. I pray that you got a lot of value from this call here, this YouTube video here today. Appreciate you showing up for this, and I hope that you get an immense amount of value. I hope to meet you in person one day, and I just want to say thank you for giving me an opportunity to invest my time into you, and you invest your time into this YouTube video. I'll see you later. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you later on the next video. See you next week.